In 2010, Bishop Eddie Long was one of the most powerful religious leaders in America. He led the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, which was known for its large congregation and the teaching of the prosperity gospel, the belief that God rewards faith with wealth and success. But you won't believe what happened next. That year, 4 young men who had once been part of his church shocked everyone by filing a lawsuit against him. They accused Bishop Long of using his position as their spiritual leader to force them into sexual relationships. These men were very young at the time, between 17 and 22 years old. They said Long gave them expensive gifts like cars, took them on international trips, and stayed with them in fancy hotels where these secret, illegal activities took place. The news rocked the religious community and the public alike. It was a huge surprise because Bishop Long was famous for speaking out strongly against homosexuality. This is where it gets interesting. Long denied all the accusations, calling himself a father figure to these young men and insisting that everything was false. But despite his denial, the case never went to court. Instead, it was quietly settled out of court in 2011, under confidential terms that no one really knew much about. The settlement was rumored to be worth millions of dollars, which made many people think that Long was trying to silence the accusers and avoid more public embarrassment. The controversy didn't end there. His ministry suffered badly. Many people left the church, and the financial support that once helped build his empire began to dry up. But the questions didn't stop. Bishop Long lived a very expensive lifestyle that seemed strange for a pastor. He had a $1.4 million house, drove luxury cars, and always wore expensive suits. People wondered how he could afford all this on a pastor's salary. Many thought that Long might have been using church donations for his personal expenses. He defended himself by saying that his wealth was proof of the prosperity gospel, where God blesses faithful believers with riches. Still, the criticism only grew louder, and his lifestyle became a symbol of a larger problem: the ethics of preaching wealth while being a spiritual leader. What made this story even more shocking was the huge contradiction in Long's life. He was known for his harsh opposition to homosexuality, preaching against it from the pulpit, and even leading marches against same-sex marriage. Yet, here were these serious allegations accusing him of sexual misconduct with young men. But here is the shocking part. This deep contradiction made many people question his true character. Was the man who preached so loudly about morality hiding a secret that could destroy his reputation? Meanwhile, questions about money continued to haunt him. The U.S. Senate Finance Committee even investigated Long along with other televangelists, trying to see if these ministries were misusing their tax-exempt status to fund lavish lifestyles. Although no charges were filed against Long or his church, the investigation made many doubt the transparency and honesty of his ministry. His refusal to fully cooperate with the investigation only made people more suspicious. The secretive out-of-court settlement added fuel to the fire, making people wonder if Long was guilty, but simply paying to keep things quiet. The way the story unfolded kept everyone hooked, because this is how a religious leader with so much power and influence could fall so hard in public opinion. The accusations, the denial, the settlement, and the questions about money created a storm that was impossible to ignore. And the craziest part was that the truth behind the settlement never fully came out, leaving a cloud of doubt that would follow Bishop Long for years to come. After the lawsuit and the secretive settlement, Bishop Eddie Long's troubles only seemed to deepen. The public wasn't just shocked by the allegations themselves, but also by the obvious gap between his public image and what was being said behind closed doors. He had built a reputation as a strong, moral leader who preached against sin, especially homosexuality. You won't believe how this made the accusations feel like a betrayal to many of his followers. The very man who had spoken so loudly against what he called immoral behavior was now being accused of committing those same acts. The fallout was harsh. Many members of his church began to leave, feeling confused and betrayed. The donations and financial support that had kept the church growing started to shrink. People started to question not only his personal life, but also the leadership of the church itself. The scandal wasn't just about one man anymore. It became a bigger story about power, trust, and hypocrisy in religious institutions. Some former church members spoke out, saying that Long's leadership style had been very controlling and sometimes even abusive. They claimed that he demanded loyalty and didn't tolerate anyone questioning him. Let me tell you, this created an environment where it was difficult for people to speak up or challenge him, making the whole situation even more complicated. Long's personal life also began to unravel in public view. In December 2011, his wife Vanessa filed for divorce, citing the strain caused by the scandal and the intense public attention. Although she later withdrew the filing the same day, the news was a heavy blow to Long's image. This is where it gets interesting. The divorce filing showed that the scandal's impact went beyond the church and affected Long's family deeply. It made many wonder if the accusations were true, given that even his wife seemed unable to stand by him during such a difficult time. As if that wasn't enough, more serious allegations began to surface about Long's use of power. It wasn't just about the sexual misconduct claims. People started talking about spiritual and emotional abuse within the church. Some said Long used his position to manipulate people, controlling their lives under the guise of spiritual guidance. Critics described him as an authoritarian leader who did not allow any opposition or criticism. This revealed a bigger problem. Long's control over the church was almost absolute, leaving little room for accountability. What makes this story different? It wasn't just about one scandal. It was about a whole system that allowed abuse to happen and go unchecked. The financial questions also remained a key part of the controversy. Long and his church had access to large sums of money, but many wondered where it all went. The public started to demand answers about the church's finances, suspecting that donations were being used for personal luxury rather than church work. The lack of clear answers and transparency kept people suspicious. The whole situation highlighted how powerful leaders in big churches could sometimes escape proper oversight, leading to misuse of resources and harm to those who trusted them. As time went on, Bishop Eddie Long's health also became a topic of public concern. In 2016, he announced he was battling a serious illness, but kept details private. Rumors spread fast, with some saying he had HIV/AIDS, while others thought it was cancer. Eventually, Long revealed he was fighting an aggressive form of cancer. He passed away in January 2017 at the age of 63. Destiny took an unexpected turn with his death. Supporters mourned the loss of a man who had once inspired them, while critics saw his passing as the end of a controversial and deeply flawed figure. Even after his death, the questions and doubts about Bishop Eddie Long's legacy did not disappear. The church he had built struggled with declining membership and financial problems. The scandal left a shadow that no one could easily remove. His story became a warning about the dangers of unchecked power and the complex reality behind public images. The craziest part is that, despite all the controversy, many still debated what to believe about his true character and actions. His life story remained a mix of faith, scandal, power, and tragedy that continues to spark conversations about leadership and morality in the church world. After Bishop Eddie Long's death, the ripple effects of his scandal kept shaking the religious world. Many people wanted to understand what really happened inside the walls of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. You won't believe how some former members started to speak out more openly about their experiences. They talked about the pressure to stay silent and the fear of losing their place in the community if they questioned the leadership. These stories revealed a pattern of control and manipulation that went beyond just the allegations of sexual misconduct. The church itself faced a difficult future. Membership numbers dropped dramatically, and donations slowed down, making it hard for New Birth to maintain its status as one of the biggest megachurches in the country. The financial struggles raised even more questions about how money was handled under Long's leadership. Many wondered whether the church's tax-exempt status was being properly used, especially after the Senate investigation years before. This is how mistrust grew between the church leaders and the congregation, leaving many confused and disillusioned. Meanwhile, Long's preaching style and theology remained controversial. His strong support of the prosperity gospel was criticized widely. This teaching said that faith could bring material wealth and health, but many believed it encouraged greed and selfishness among church leaders. Long's own luxurious lifestyle was seen as the perfect example of this, but critics argued it was also proof of corruption. People asked if the prosperity message was really about faith or just a way for pastors to live lavishly at the expense of their followers. The story took another twist with the legal and public debates about accountability in megachurches. Long's case raised important questions about how these large religious organizations operate with little oversight. Without proper checks and balances, leaders like Long could easily abuse their power, both financially and personally. But here is the shocking part. Even after all the controversy, many churches continued to operate in similar ways, with leaders who escaped scrutiny and the problems remaining hidden from the public eye. Public opinion about Bishop Long was deeply divided. His supporters remembered him as a charismatic and powerful preacher who helped many people find faith and hope. They believed the allegations were false or exaggerated and saw the settlement as a way to protect the church from unfair attacks. However, his critics saw him as a symbol of hypocrisy and corruption within religious leadership. This is where it gets interesting. The debate about his legacy is still alive, years after his passing, showing how complicated and painful this story really is. In the end, the Bishop Eddie Long saga became more than just a scandal about one man. It became a larger conversation about trust, power, and responsibility in religious communities. His story warned people to look carefully at those who lead, especially when they live very differently from what they preach. The tension between public image and private actions, faith and failure, authority and abuse, continues to challenge churches around the world today. What makes this story different? It is a reminder that even the most respected leaders can fall, and the truth behind their power may be much darker than anyone expects. As the years passed after Bishop Eddie Long's death, the impact of his story kept echoing far beyond just one church or one community. Many started to see his life as a powerful lesson about the dangers of unchecked authority in religious leadership. You won't believe how many other megachurches and influential pastors began to face similar accusations, raising questions about how common these problems really are. Long's case became a symbol, a warning sign that no matter how strong or respected someone seems, no one is above the truth. The scandals surrounding Long also forced many religious organizations to rethink how they handle allegations against their leaders. There was more pressure to increase transparency, hold pastors accountable, and create safer environments where victims could speak without fear. But here is the shocking part. Despite these efforts, change has been slow, and many still struggle to find justice. The culture of silence and protection for powerful figures remains strong in some circles, making it difficult for the truth to come out. Bishop Long's personal story continued to generate mixed feelings. Some of his former followers remembered the good he had done, the messages that inspired them, the community he built, and the faith he encouraged. For them, his legacy was complicated but not entirely negative. Yet for others, the betrayal felt too deep, and his story remained a painful reminder of how easily power can be abused. This is where it gets interesting. Even years after his death, the debate over who Bishop Eddie Long really was continues, showing how difficult it is to separate a person's public achievements from their private actions. In the end, Bishop Long's story is more than just a scandal. It is a reminder that faith and humanity are often complicated and messy. The man who once preached prosperity and morality also faced the darkest accusations imaginable. The craziest part is that his life exposed the hidden struggles inside many religious institutions, the struggle between truth and denial, power and accountability, faith and failure. His story encourages us to look deeper, question more, and demand honesty, no matter who holds the microphone. So, the next time you hear about a powerful leader or a big church, remember Bishop Eddie Long's story. It shows us how important it is to stay aware and not blindly trust what's on the surface. Because sometimes destiny takes an unexpected turn, and the truth is far more complicated than anyone imagined.